What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into all things tangentially related to Frank Zappa. Today, I'm going to briefly talk about, according to my favorites, the ranking that is, not what I talk about, Devo, the Akron, Ohio, right? Yeah. New wave, synth electronics, slightly punky, edgy, quirky band that we all know from Whip It. And in fact, Frank Zappa knows him from Whip It because that's the connection to Zappa, Tinseltown Rebellion, Whip It good. They do that little Whip It tease in Tinseltown Rebellion. I'm going to talk about their albums. Kind of think there's three types of Devo albums. There's only 9. There's the quintessential Devo sound, which is like a little bit of like new wave, some really good guitar, like perfectly balanced amount of guitar to give it a little maybe punkier, edgier, rockier energy, some synth, some sort of de-evolution lyrics, maybe looking to challenge the system type stuff. So there's those albums. There's the albums in which they try to do that, but the lyrics don't match or the inspiration isn't there. So it just kind of sounds like going through the motions. And then there's a handful of albums which sound nothing like Devo, quote unquote Devo, but I think are kind of enjoyable anyways. So I'm going to talk about the 9. I'll put the list on the screen when I'm done. Going to go from 9 to 1. And yeah, just doing the straightforward studio albums. So let's get on to number 9. My number 9 is their number 8, 1990s Smooth Noodle Maps. First thing I have to say about this, came out in 1990. First thing I have to say about this is the 80s production. We're in 90, but the 80s production is horrible. The drum sound is horrible. It just, this is how bad the 80s are. Devo is a synth electronic band primarily. They throw in some healthy guitar, adds that sort of like what the Cars did. When you need the electric guitar is there. For a band that embraces electronic sounds and synth sounds, for the 80s even to make their stuff kind of unlistenable, shows you how bad the 80s were. It's rough. Listen, the production is rough. It is just so 80s. And I just think the inspiration on a lot of the songs is not there. Couple highlights. The second song, Postmodern Man, is kind of a quirky Devo song, kind of fun, got some new wave energy, but the production on it just unlistenable kind of. A song called Pink Jazz Trancers, horrible drum sound. The bass is kind of cool in here. It's got a kind of a cool pre-LCD sound system type vibe that I think works. Cool little piano solo in there, but the drum sound just kind of ruins it. The last song, Doghouse, D-A-W-G House, H-A-U-S, kind of reminds me of early Duran Duran, like maybe, pre Ragged and the Seven Tigers. Is that what it was called? That's not what it's called. What a weird name for an album. But pre-Rio, early Rio, maybe pre-Rio, kind of has a nice Duran Duran sound, kind of funky. Does start off with people howling like dogs, which is never a plus in any song. But yeah, for the most part, the sound kind of hurts it. It just doesn't work. I don't know. The production is bad. It's just kind of straightforward, uninspired, new wave synth dance music. Not that much interesting stuff. Spin the Wheel kind of reminds me of The Cure, but like a really light, maybe deep cut throwaway Cure track. The cover for this album is Morning Dew, which I didn't really want to like at first. There's kind of a sparse opening to it, then like the electronic beats drop, and I wanted to hate it, but I don't know. I kind of came around to it by the end of it. It's a quirky take on Morning Dew. It kind of worked, but for the most part, yeah, just sounds like a lot of other bands, but makes me want to listen to those other bands. The sound is not that good. There's potential in a couple of the songs, but yeah, it was a rough listen. My number 9, Smooth Noodle Maps. My number 8 is their number 6, 1984's Shout. This kind of sounds like Devo. The previous album, which I haven't reviewed yet, Oh No, It's Devo, right? That was the previous one. The vocals on that are so over the top. It seems like every song has three different vocal styles, and they're just trying to like, there's a lot going on with the vocals. It seems like the attitude for this was almost like, hey, let's tone down the vocals a little bit. Let's just kind of concentrate on like the synth pop stuff, not be too weird, not to be too quirky. And I think the problem is it just kind of comes across as, for me, this is their most generic, just 80s synth pop album. Nothing really defiant or quirky or weird enough to truly be Devo. Kind of sound like other bands, but just make me want to listen to those other bands. Some Thompson Twins energy from the early 80s. I really like early 80s Thompson Twins. There's a number of songs in here that, yeah, I might have heard this on the radio, but better. Other bands did this kind of thing better. And this is the first album, this 84 one, where like the 80s are like, okay, even Devo might not be able to handle the 80s. It's not without a handful of pretty good songs. Let's see, we got The Fourth Dimension, kind of a slower, moodier type thing, kind of like has a day tripper quote in the middle of it for who knows whatever reasons. It's kind of got a weirder, moodier vibe. I'm not sure it really sounds like Devo, but I think it's one of the more interesting tracks on here. Here to Go has some nice guitar energy, kind of some weird sci-fi surf punk, some pretty interesting music. That's like the middle of the album. The closing, the cover for this album is Are You Experienced, which I think actually kind of works. It's actually pretty fantastic. Yeah, it's the Hendrix cover. It's by far the most interesting thing on here. Again, the production is horrible, but I don't know. They're tackling Hendrix's Are You Experienced. They're like fearless in the songs they're going to cover. And it's the last song on here. I kind of wish it was earlier. I think it, I'm not sure if it works, but I'm utterly compelled to want to listen to it again on an album that doesn't have a lot of compelling stuff. There's some fake like trumpet sounds, some synthesized horn sounds on here that I think are pretty atrocious. Yeah, it's just sort of the Don't Rescue Me, the third song on here, has a nice synth pop vibe that reminds me of the Thompson Twins, but makes me just want to go listen to early Thompson Twins, which sounds like early LCD Sound System. Thompson Twins don't get enough credit for the awesome stuff they do. But yeah, it's really bad. Jurisdiction of Love just sounds horribly dated. Just the production, the 80s-ness of it all is almost unbearable. Yeah. Puppet Boy almost works, but it has Human League Fascination vibes and makes me just want to go listen to Keep Feeling Fascination or whatever the lyrics to that song are. But yeah. Yeah. I think it's the most generic thing they've done. That would be my number 8. Shout. My number 7 is their number 7th, Total Devo. This came out in 1988. You can usually find this at the bottom of most people's Devo lists, or at least a lot of people I know who are into Devo don't like this. And the reason they don't like this is it kind of doesn't sound like Devo. It has a lot of dance energy, a lot of just cheesy electronic synth pop dance. It really is a different version of Devo than the band that started back in the 70s. But that being said, I like these songs. And I think the first 1, 2, 3, 4 songs are just spectacular, I think. And it gives me enough momentum to make it through the rest of the album. The opening Baby Doll, weird, throbbing energy, very synth. Kind of sounds like a very weird, deep Cars track from maybe one of their second or third albums. Kind of works for the radio also. I think it's a really good song. Baby Doll. Disco Dancer. Great dance energy. Very synthy. Some funky guitar drops in there. It's a fun song. Prince vibes. It's kind of just 4+ minutes of a groove. Devo's finding an actual groove. Number 3, Some Things Never Change. Straight up 80s synth pop. Doesn't really sound Devo-ish, but it also has kind of another cool groove that's just dropping in here. Another song that reminds me of early Duran Duran. Like if you've not listened to like early Duran Duran, the bass playing on early Duran Duran is absolutely sick. They're kind of finding those kind of like early new wave grooves from like a band like Duran Duran. Also great guitar on here. The fourth song, Plain Truth, could be a Thompson Twin song. It's kind of got a nice groove. I feel like it could have been an indie hit. Like you could have heard I don't know if Plain Truth was a single. I don't know if they had singles off this album. Don't know anything about that. But Plain Truth, I really, really like. From there on out, it's not quite as successful, but I don't think the dip is that big. Some kind of nice bass heavy energy on Happy Guy. They do a cover of Elvis's Don't Be Cruel, which almost sounds like a Residence track that didn't make it onto a Residence album. Kind of sounds like a demo. It doesn't really work. The rest of the album is kind of hit and miss, kind of the same energy, just maybe the songwriting, a little more generic. Maybe they're just trying too hard. And then they kind of almost get away from the dance stuff as the album goes on. And it just becomes kind of more like generic synth pop, like the album I just talked about. So some interesting moments. Can't say it's a home run. Kind of drops off as the album goes on. But I do think those first 4 tracks are kind of a new direction for Devo. They wouldn't stay in that direction. I don't know. I enjoy listening to them. I think they're fun and not bad. And really on the basis of the first 4 tracks and the rest of the stuff just being generic synth pop, this would be my number 7, Total Devo. Mindless fun. My number 6 is their 2010 comeback album, their 9th studio album, Something for Everybody. It just feels inspired. Kind of has a little bit of that dance energy, but it also sounds a lot more like Devo. And when they bring in elements of dance, it feels a little bit more balanced. The sound is better. I think it's just a solid album from start to finish. Opens up with a song called Fresh, which kind of sounds fresh. Like we're back to like a cleaner, streamlined, new wave, sort of early Devo sound that works really well. Nice guitar energy, awesome start. What We Do, dance energy kind of returns, but the production is cleaner. It doesn't sound as cluttered, a little more streamlined. Lyrics are, what do we do? What we do is fun, so they just kind of, what do we do? What we do is like some chanting type lyrics, solid start, quirky energy, good 1-2 punch to open up the album. Please Baby Please, there's like the intro to this reminds me of Holiday Road from Lindsey Buckingham. I think we need more songs that sound like Holiday Road. Nice guitar solo in here, kind of noisy song, upbeat. A lot of really good songs on here. Don't Shoot, I'm a Man, a little more techno vibe, kind of big pop energy. Mind Games, catchy synth pop, almost has like a if XTC was trying to be a radio friendly pop vibe, maybe has an XTC pop energy to it. Human Rocket, of course, any song with the word human is going to be as synthy and electronic as possible. We even get some like robotic voice energy there. The song Step Up, we have some Listen Up. It's DEVO lyrics. They spell. Never a fan of that. Kind of reminds me as like a Whip It vibe to it. Like all the things you're going to step up and do, kind of like Whip It, the lyrics and sort of the energy. Maybe not as simple and catchy, but kind of a good song. Cameo, it's about a guy whose name is Cameo. He's got a black belt loaded with skills. That lyric jumped out at me as a fun one. This one almost seems like a musically doesn't really remind me of Weird Al's CNR, his Charles Nelson Riley song, which you have not heard is fantastic. But it kind of reminds me of like a Cameo, reminds me of like a Weird Al deep track, like Weird Al would like, a story about this odd little character. Because not all Weird Al songs are covers or parodies, if you didn't know that. He writes originals. But yeah, and then No Place Like Home starts off with some sort of like almost like piano ballad energy at first, thinking maybe we may get a low key piano ballad before like some full band synth energy comes in. Kind of a nice, big, optimistic, reflective pop song, No Place Like Home. It's a song of truth and beauty for you. I think those are the initial lyrics. And then we close out with March On, which is very synthy, robotic, kind of slightly anthemic, sort of March On type pop. Yeah, it's an enjoyable, listenable album from start to finish. They take a 20-year break, they come back, they're inspired, they nailed it. Good album. My number 6, their last one to date, Something for Everybody. My number 5 is their 5th. Oh no, it's Devo. This came out in 1982. This is the one in which it seems like they're really going for a lot vocally, and it just seems like the vocals are weird, purposefully, like, or different, or like there's like every vocalist and every different performance seems like they're going for some just different, weird, offsetting energy that used to really annoy me, and then after the years I kind of like grew to like it a little bit more. This was really big in 8th grade. I think it came out in like the last semester of my 8th grade. Maybe it was 7th grade. I just remember the building we were in. And we used to listen to this a lot on the playground. One of the guys owned this on cassette, and the song "That's Good" was huge. I think it was 7th grade. Was just huge for us for some reason. We all loved the song "That's Great, That's Good." Just catchy synth pop type song. Don't think there's anything absolutely fantastic on here, but I don't think it's that bad. And I think there's some songs that have somewhat slightly darker energy that I kind of like. Time Out for Fun has this really monotone spoken voice at times. It's also got more of a darker, almost dystopian pop vibe that I really like. I think it kicks it off in good fashion. Peekaboo, sort of a bass sounding driven synth pop, lot going on vocally with this song. Out of Sync, lot going on with the vocal arrangements on this one. This is like a vocal heavy, just trying to be weird type album. Explosions, a lot of vocal flourishes on this one. Then we get That's Good. Patterns is some like low key new wave pop. Big Mess, super bouncy, kind of quirky, nice rhythm to this. Speed Racer. What did I write here? Little Norman-esque. Great, cool video game music is what Speed Racer sounds like. Really synthy, really robotic, kind of fun. Good little track there. Silly lyrics that just get sillier as the song goes on. What did I write? Little Noman-esque. Don't know what I meant. Little Noman-esque. Huh. I can't read my own writing, but I like the song Speed Racer. What Must I Do? Cool sounds, a lot going on vocally. I Desire, Little Stranger song, and then the closing Deep Sleep, full electronic, almost sounds like an extended mix of a song. It's only 3.5 minutes, but it's already so almost like overburdened with synth stuff that it sounds like an extended mix when it's the original song. Just a solid entry that I don't think has real great peaks other than maybe That's Good, but then also doesn't have any really deep valleys. Just a solid middle of the pack, number 5. Oh no, it's Devo. My number 4 is their second, Duty Now for the Future. Hiccups. Duty Now for the Future. This came out in 1979. This one kind of feels like it's that sophomore album slump. I believe that when they put together their first album, they had written a whole bunch of songs prior to the release of the first album, and kind of the best of those went on the first album, and some of the leftover songs maybe made it onto this with maybe some new stuff. So it kind of feels like they're trying to like reinvent the wheel a little bit, but at the same time, they're also like doubling down on being Devo. And I don't think they're quite ready for that, or they should have done it on the first album. Like the first song is like a 1.5 minute, like instrumental called Devo Corporate Anthem that kind of reminds me of The Residents. It just seems like that's a very Residence thing to do, to have this sort of theme for this weird synth dystopian type album. But I don't think the commitment to it is quite Residence worthy, or it's, you know, not on par with what they would do. So it's a interesting way to start off the album, but I don't think like there's any real big payoff at the end. But then the second song, Clock Out, absolutely fantastic. Maybe the highlight of this album. Just a really nice pseudo surf energy, new wave rock song that absolutely works. Then we're in and out with some good stuff. Timing X is like this loops. We got some synth loops. It's an instrumental. Wiggly World is sort of this herky jerky rock song. Blockhead is kind of fun. It's literally the lyrics are describing a person with a blockhead, and it's a whole bunch of different ways to describe blocks. Strange Pursuit, kind of upbeat, hectic synth pop. Swelling Itching Brain, SIB, has this kind of unsettling synth pounding drum vibe that maybe is supposed to induce a headache, but it's also, the song's called Swelling Itching Brain, so form meets function, the music works. Triumph of the Will, some maybe too ambitious Devo prog that I just don't think kind of works. The Day My Baby Gave Me a Surprise, some cool percussion ideas in there, kind of dramatic, kind of spacey, kind of a cool song. Pink Pussycat, some really silly lyrics, surf rock vibe that kind of works. I think this is like the frustrating part of the album, because I think Triumph of the Will and Pink Pussycat, maybe they're trying to be something a little bit different, or they're just, I don't know, running out of ideas. And right in the middle, they have like a quality, The Day My Baby Gave Me a Surprise, kind of makes this half of the album a little more frustrating. But then we get Secret Agent Man, another choice cover. I think it's a little more of a novelty cover, just because Secret Agent Man is more of a novelty song than Satisfaction was on the first one, but it's still a great cover. They do a good job with it. I think this one cover, an album thing is, I think they're doing well with this. Smart Patrol, Mr. DNA, we get the Spud Boy pops up in the lyrics, very processed. Kind of halfway through, we go to this whole different section that's a lot more frantic, the Mr. DNA part. Kind of a cool little 6-minute song. And then we end with Red Eye, which is synthy, quirky, really strong song. We end on a strong note. But this is a good album. Like, I think these final 4 on this list are really solid albums, but I do think this one is kind of exists in the shadow of the debut. And they needed to step out of that shadow to regain their inspiration. But yeah, my number 4, their number 2, Duty Now for the Future. My number 3 is their number 4, New Traditionalists. Came out in 1981. And this one seems to occupy that spot that the sort of mysterious 4th album of a long running band kind of has. Sort of like Weezer's Maladroit, Pearl Jam's No Code. I'm sure there are other bands I can think of that I can't right now, but those two came to mind. Just that 4th album where you come out strong, you struggle, you have a huge success again, and then you're like, you want to get weirder and darker and just a little bit moodier and kind of just maybe alienate some fans or challenge them in ways they haven't been challenged. And I think that's what this album does. Opens up with Through Being Cool, verging on being very tongue-in-cheek in a Devo way, synth pop straight up, Jerking Back and Forth, kind of a more normal synth pop song, Pity You, awesome guitar action, kind of a minimal vibe, but really, really nice melody buried underneath a lot of just synth stuff going on, a very nervous energy, but Pity You is about a nervous problem, so it's like just feels really good. Just all works together. Soft Things verges on being a dance track. We're getting some of that dance energy coming in here, but it's got a nice chill, more relaxed vibe. Going Under, awesome highlight, has almost like a Prince not the song 1999, but the album 99 sort of dance vibe. You can see this is sort of like a deep cut on that album with the way the synths are and just the kind of drums and the moodier type story on here. Going Under, really good. Race of Doom, some sci-fi synth pop, some fun grooves, some nice galloping energy throughout it. Almost flirts with like a David Byrne / very David Byrne-ish Talking Head sort of deep track. Kind of a proggy version of a Byrne song. Love Without Anger, like really poppy. The Super Thing. Darker, more somber synth energy. Guitar shows up. Anytime guitar shows up, that's good. Beautiful World, fantastic song. Absolutely awesome. It's a wonderful place for you. Like talking about a beautiful world, but the lyrics don't come from somebody who believes it's a beautiful world, but he understands that it is for you. Just almost like a Western / noir weird feel about it. Strong song. And then the closing, Enough Said, which is like almost like Enough Said complaining about the world. Let's end with some really good stuff. Yeah, it's a strong album. It's got a mysterious vibe to it. It really works. Seems like it's a little less frantic than their first three. Like they're maturing. They're trying to bring a mature face, but it's still Devo. It's still experimental. It's still got that Devo DNA shining through. My number 3, their number 4, New Traditionists. My number 2 is their number 3, Freedom of Choice. This is the Whip It album. Great album. Pretty much perfect for the first, I don't know, 11 songs on here? 12 songs. The first 9 songs, the last 3 songs, we maybe lose a little bit of energy and momentum, but they're not bad songs. Opening Girl You Want, absolutely fantastic. Great guitar energy mixed in with all the synth electronic stuff. This is almost like the Cars template, where we're going to give you this like synth pop, but the humanity, the warmth, the us being humans connection is going to come through the guitar. And I think that's what makes the early Devo albums succeed, is when they strike that balance. It's Not Right, nice driving synth rock, clean vocals, pretty straightforward. We get Whip It. Whip It's a jam, man. Whip It's a jam. Has it been overplayed to death everywhere? Yeah. But Whip It's a jam. Snowball almost as a video gamey vibe. Ton of Love. Darker song. The lyrics are about love, but darkly. The music fits the lyrics. And then the title track, Freedom of Choice. Just awesome. Kind of unsettling drums, kind of an unsettling groove. The freedom of choice comes with consequences, and it's not something that you embrace eagerly. You should be unsettled by that. Gates of Steel and Freedom of Choice, very anthemic. Absolutely awesome. And anytime you discuss free will, I was a philosophy major at Cal. I'll discuss free will for years. Gates of Steel, bigger radio-friendly synth pop sound. Great, some heavy guitar presence out here. Awesome, serious singing. Cold War sound fits the title. I think we get some like actual Cold War references in here. Oh no, it's not a political song. It's about relationships. There's cats fighting outside my window. Don't You Know, nice tight rock groove. The last 3 songs, That's Pep, Mr. B's Ballroom, Planet Earth, synth poppy, little new wave quirkiness. They're fun songs. I just don't think they're as memorable as pretty much everything that precedes this. This is a solid album, and this is the one that made them huge. Whip It on the back of that, but the entire album, if you bought this album because of Whip It, I think you would have enjoyed the entire album and been happy and probably bought the next one. So yeah, good on you, Devo. But that's my number 2. Girl You Want, the opening track though, awesome. But yeah, my number 2, their number 3, Freedom of Choice, which means number 1 is... And number 1 is their number 1, the absolutely brilliant debut. Are We Not Men? Q, Are We Not Men? Question mark, A, : We Are Devo, ! Opens up with the amazing Uncontrollable Urge. Just came out in 1978. If you've ever seen Ridiculousness, you've heard this song. Ridiculousness, did an awesome job of choosing this as their theme song. MTV shows. Jackass picked a Minutemen song. Uncontrolled. That other show I just talked about, Ridiculousness, picked a Devo song. Good job, MTV. I Can't Get No Satisfaction, the Rolling Stone deconstructed. I mean, you pick I Can't Get No Satisfaction and you make it work. Yeah, mad props to you. Praying Hands, we get sort of a punk meets surf music meets David Byrne, like Devo at its best, just picking and choosing from different sort of artists and making it this weird synthy Devo type statement, talking about obedience. Praying Hands. Space Junk, strange, repetitive. A satellite that falls out and I think it kills somebody's girlfriend. Sad, sad stuff. The herky-jerky post-punk weirdness of Mongoloid. The absolutely awesome, quirky, post-punk new wave weirdness of Jocko Homo. What did I write? Title for album. Oh yeah, the title for album comes out of this song after the riffs. It's like a little mini, sort of like 3.5 minute Bohemian Rhapsody. A lot of different little sections in Jocko Homo that work together really well. Too Much Paranoia. Aggressive, quirky guitar energy. Great line. My mama's afraid to tell me My mama's afraid to tell me the things she's afraid of. Yeah, I like that. She's afraid to tell me about what she's afraid of. That's a lot of paranoias for you right there. Gut Feeling, Slap Your Mammy. Sounds like a real rock song. Yeah, I wrote that in my notes. Some cool like arpeggiated chords kind of intro. Feels like we might be actually getting a real song. Then we get some like rotten to the core women that we get talked about here. Some great squealing guitar. Slap is like a little rock jam at the end of it, the Slap Your Mammy part. Pretty cool little like more traditional song from Devo. Come Back Joni, some more great guitar licks, leaning into that Elliot Easton vibe of like synth pop with some really, really healthy, melodic, engaging guitar playing. Sloppy, I Saw My Baby Gettin'. I think I missed the hole. And then Shrivel Up, where we sort of just accept the problems of life and we just kind of shrivel up as life goes on around us and we're not happy about it. My Urge, starting today, we're in January of 2025 and things are about to fall apart in this country. Hopefully not. But this is just a great, great album. The instrumentation, the guitar energy, the songwriting, the mix of all the genres that they're pulling from, I think are the most well-balanced on this. Did they just go downhill from their debut album? Kind of. They had some peaks after this, but this really was, to my ears, a home run from the start. Excellent, excellent album. My number one. Are We Not Men? We Are Devo. And that's what they look like in typewritten form right there. I would argue that the top four are the four albums that the entire Devo rightfully earned and deserved sort of legacy and reverence and everything that people, the hardcore Devo heads, like those top four albums, like those are a defense of them as a fantastic band. I think it's hit and miss after that. Oh No, It's Devo and Shout, which were the like 5 and 6, I think just become the template sets in for what they do. So maybe it just becomes a little less interesting. But I think if you're a hardcore Devo fan, there's a lot to like in there. Total Devo, dance energy, which I love, though I understand why the hardcore Devo heads, the Spud heads don't like it. Something for Everybody, the one I have at number 6, just an awesome comeback in the 21st century. Amazing. Smooth Noodle Maps is the one that I think is just the least inspired of them all. But yeah, some good listen, some fun stuff. Yeah, even caught Frank's attention and he put him in Tinseltown Rebellion. That's all I got. Thanks for watching and stick around if you made it this long. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do those things. And go listen to their first album. If you have not heard Devo's first album, you are missing out on an experience. Go change that now. Peace. Talk to you later.